The 2021 Israel oil spill is an ecological disaster which occurred in February 2021. Starting on the 16th of February 2021, dozens to hundreds of tons of tar washed up on the beaches along a 160-kilometer stretch of Israel's Mediterranean coast from Rosh Hanikra to Ashkelon, following a heavy storm and unusually high waves. This also prevented an early detection of the approaching tar in its removal at sea. Tar deposits were also later detected on the beaches in South Lebanon. All of Israel's beaches were closed until further notice. The population was advised not to go swimming or to play sports on the beach, as exposure to tar could endanger health. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the beach near the port city of Ashdod and announced that the Ministry of Environmental Protection would draw up a plan to clean the beaches. The Israeli military pledged to deploy several thousand soldiers to support more than 4,000 eco-ocean volunteers, who had begun clearing the beaches of clumps of tar. The Environmental Protection Ministry said the pollution was due to tens to hundreds of tons of oil spilled from a ship or illegally dumped into the sea from a tanker. They are working with European agencies to identify the ship responsible. 9 ships that would have been about 50 kilometers off Israel's coast on the 11th of February 2021 would be considered. Cleanup will take months to years, officials said, at the estimated cost of tens of millions of shekels. The Israel Nature and Parks Authority described the maritime pollution as the worst natural disaster in years. At the request of the Environmental Protection Ministry, the Haifa Magistrates Court issued a gag order on the 22nd of February. Publications of the names of people or ships, ports, navigation routes or cargo that could lead to the identification of suspects were banned. The Israeli media described this as irregular, while the Environmental Protection Organization attemp weighed in warned of a loss of confidence in the government as a result of this measure. A representative from the Environmental Research Center in Haifa accused the Environmental Ministry of failing to prevent such disasters and of a lack of transparency. The following day, the gag order was partially lifted, leaving only ongoing investigations under cover. On the 3rd of March, Israeli Environment Minister Gila Gamliel said the oil had been spilled intentionally by a ship carrying it from Iran to Syria, calling it an act of eco-terrorism. However, her claims were disputed by security officials. Numerous sea animals such as fish, turtles and seabirds were found washed up and covered with a black, sticky film. A young fin whale about 17 meters long washed up dead on a beach in the south of the country. An autopsy found black liquid in its lungs. Numerous coral reefs on Israel's coast were covered with a layer of tar. According to the Israel Nature and Parks Authority, this endangers the existence of a rare sea snail that was recently rediscovered. The entire ecosystem of the coast may have been damaged for decades. Several volunteers taking part in the massive cleanup operation complained of malaise after inhaling toxic fumes and were taken to hospitals. Lumps of tar camouflaged underwater in Rosh Hanikra tar that has accumulated in underwater debris. In Rosh Hanikra, private initiative of the residents of the area to collect the tar underwater, combining kayaking and diving in Rosh Hanikra bags with tar collected on the shores of Haifa Inthe area near Israel Oceanographic and Limnological Research